Hello there, welcome to the news on Nepal television. I'm Rosina Rai, starting with the headlines first. Prime Minister Dahal to address Parliament today to furnish National Assembly members' queries on government's policy and program. Police to seek more time for judicial custody of 16 arrested in fake refugees scam, demands the prosecution of 32 people in the case. Russia battling against an armed group that crossed from Ukraine into its Belgorod region. Ukraine blames Russian paramilitary groups for the incursion and hosts Nepal playing against Bangladesh today in its second match of Kawa Women's Volleyball Challenge, defeats Kyrgyzstan in the opener. Welcome back. Now we have the news in detail. Prime Minister Pushpakamal Dahal is scheduled to address the National Assembly today. The session of the upper house of the Federal Parliament summoned for 1 p.m. for the same. The Prime Minister will furnish members' queries on the government's policy and programs that was presented before both the House of Representatives Parliament on Friday. The House of Representatives, meanwhile, will continue discussion on the government's policy and programs today as well. The policy and programs has drawn mixed reaction to the annual program. The main opposition party has expressed its dissatisfaction with the policies and programs and has demanded the dossier to be rewritten. The district police range Kathmandu submitted its investigation report against those involved in the fake Bhutanese refugees scam to the district public prosecutor's office. The report recommended that the case of fraud, organized crime and crime against the state be registered against those found guilty in the scam. The Office of the Public Prosecutor could, however, consider changes in the report, says police, adding since there was prospect of investigating the same for the angle of money laundering and abuse of authority. The scammers could also attract the case on these charges. Police have so far arrested 16 people, including the former ministers and sitting government secretary, on the charge of their involvement in the sending people to the United States, identifying them as the Bhutanese refugees. Police was suggested the Office of the Public Prosecutor to register case against additional 16 to 17 accused ones in the scam. The Public Prosecutor's Office will also proceed the prosecution of, if needed, said Chief of the District Police Public Prosecutor's Office, Achut Mani Neopani. Many Bhutanese refugees at the Jhapa have complained that people other than them but using their names were settled in the US under the repatriation scheme. They say people using their names were sent to the US while they were away for work in India. These are complaints of real Bhutanese refugees whose families are taking shelter in the refugee camps in Beldangi of Jhapa since 3 decades now. Many of the refugees there have been living away from their families for work, as they say the living conditions at the camp are not good enough. Some among these refugees workers who went to India have been permanently married and settled there following the fake Bhutanese refugee scam. Many such stories are coming to this fore. We still have more updates on the site. Stay with us. Welcome back here on Nepal Television News. Now the remaining updates. Renowned mountaineer Kamarita Sherpa has reached the summit of Mount Everest for the record 28th time. Sherpa successfully summited Mount Everest this morning, reclaiming his own record for the most ascents of the world's highest mountain. This is his second ascent of the world's highest peak this summit season and 2 times ascent in less than a week. Kamarita had climbed the Everest recently on 17th May. Sherpa, a native of Thami village in Solukhumbu, has also conquered other peaks including Mount Ketu, Mount Choyu, Mount Lhotse and Mount Manaslu. The government this year has issued a record of 467 permits for foreign climbers seeking to reach the summit of Everest. Nepal's public debt liability has exceeded 2,150 billion rupees. According to the Public Debt Management Office, Nepal has been obliged to pay its public debt amounting over to 2,154 billion rupees and 123.9 million, including 1,083 billion 473.9 million towards internal debt and 1,070 billion 649 million rupees towards external debt as of 14th May. The ratio of public debt in GDP appeared to be 44.40%, while considering Nepal's gross domestic production GDP as rupees 4,851 billion 620 million. The rise of public debt ratio in GDP and weak economic growth rate due to low capital formation could put the country's economy in crisis in coming days. On the one hand, the government's capacity to raise public revenue was warning that pushed it for making deficit budget. On the other, big size of annual budget was being spent for the repayment of a principal amount of the rising public debt amount. The District Administration Office in Pastar has started to provide passport-related service to the people even during public holiday. Keeping in a view of easy and efficient service to the people, such step has been initiated in the district, and locals are excited as they can obtain passport within 15 days. Following the direction of the government of Nepal to distribute passport even in public holiday in all 77 districts across the country, Pastar district has implemented the direction recently. As per the data, more than 40 people come to the office to make passports every day. Chief District Officer of Pastar, Megh Bahadur Magrati, said all the necessary arrangements have been made in a way so the passports can be issued throughout the month. The construction of Tamakusa Breeze bordering with Bhimeshwar municipality and Baiteshwar rural municipality of Dolakha district has left in limbo. The project was handed over to the contractor company Nilgiri National JV in 2016. The contractor has absconded after signing the contract for 8.45 million 10,000 rupees for the construction of the bridge that connects four local levels with the highway. Likewise, a stalled and dilapidated condition of the under-constructed bridge has hampered the smooth traffic along the road section. We shall get back with international headliners at the side. Stay with us. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Now updates from international front lines. An armed group has crossed from Ukraine into Russia's Belgorod region, and clashes there have injured a number of people. Russian authorities say local governor Yaroslav Gladkov said Russian forces were searching for the saboteurs who he said and attacked Gryavornitsky district by the border. Vladimir Putin's spokesman said the Russian president had been informed. Ukraine denies responsibility and said Russian citizens from two paramilitary groups were behind the incursion. Parts of Belgorod and several other Russian regions have come under artillery or drone attack since Moscow launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February last year. A week-long ceasefire period agreed by Sudan's warring factions and designed to allow for the delivery of aid has begun after the army conducted heavy air strikes across the capital Khartoum against its paramilitary rivals. The ceasefire was agreed to on Saturday after 5 weeks of fierce battles between the army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces (RSF). The ceasefire deal includes a monitoring mechanism involving the army and the RSF, as well as representatives from Saudi Arabia and the United States, which brokered the agreement after talks in Jeddah. Though fighting has continued through previous ceasefires, this is the first truce to be formally agreed following negotiations. To the more updates, before that, let's have a quick look into the highlights of the site. TikTok has sued to block the U.S. state of Montana from banning residents from accessing its social media platform. Monday's lawsuit comes after last week Montana became the first U.S. state to pass a sweeping ban on the Chinese-owned video-sharing platform. In a statement, TikTok said the ban conflicts with U.S. free speech rights. TikTok has come under scrutiny from authorities around the world over concerns that data could be passed to the Chinese government. The lawsuit filed on Monday in the United States District Court for the District of Montana says it is suing to overturn the unlawful ban. Time for sports now. The second match under the NSC Kava International Women's Volleyball Tournament is slated for today. In today's match, host Nepal is taking Bangladesh at Covered Hall of the National Sports Council, Kathmandu. The match is slated for 3 p.m. and slated for 3 p.m. Earlier in the opener, Nepal defeated Kyrgyzstan in straight sets of 3-0 and booked important additional 3 points for Group A. Likewise, Uzbekistan defeated Sri Lanka and India claimed victory over Bangladesh respectively at the matches of the opening day. In the tournament, Kyrgyzstan, India and Bangladesh and Nepal are in same group. Nepal will next play against India tomorrow. Juventus have been docked 10 points following a new hearing into the club's past transfer dealings. Juve were initially handed a 15-point penalty in January, but Italy's highest sporting court overturned that decision in April and ordered the case to be re-examined. The new ruling was announced on Monday before the team 4-1 defeat at Empoli. The penalty drove Juve to 7th place in Serie A outside the European qualification spots. Napoli have already secured the Serie A title and before Monday's ruling was 17 points ahead of second-placed Juve. With this, we are almost at the end of this news bulletin, but before we say goodbye, quick reminders of the headlines again. Prime Minister Dahal to address Parliament today to furnish National Assembly members queries on government's policy and program. Police to seek more time for judicial custody of 16 arrested in fake refugees scam demands prosecution of 32 people in the case. Russian battling against an armed group that crossed from Ukraine into its Belgorod region. Ukraine blames Russian paramilitary groups for the incursion. And host Nepal playing against Bangladesh today in its second match of Kava Women's Volleyball Challenge defeats Kyrgyzstan in the opener. Well, this is all we have for this moment. Until our next bulletin, have a good day ahead. Namaste.